Hey there, hi there, ho there, hello there, and welcome back to another exciting edition of the Cardinal Couple Radio Hour podcast, where we discuss the joy and excitement of UofL women's athletics. And we'll certainly try to get some exciting things in there today to talk to you about. Well, right now we have three on the broadcast. Don't know if Daryl has popped in yet or not, but Case,
She said
Jeff, and
she'll
I
be on
are here.
shortly.
Daryl has.
She's she is on, I think.
I'm
Yeah.
here, guys.
Yeah.
Okay, so we do have four on. So we do have Daryl, Case, Jeff, and me. Paulie, Case is out today. Excuse me. Uh, Case not feeling well. Called in and said he could barely crawl out of bed, and said that he would appreciate us covering him on the broadcast and on his article today. So what that consisted is of a Paulie who had just woke up 5 minutes earlier, deciding, I guess I have to write an article if no one else will. Oh, and so I ended up putting up an article. Rushed as it was, it's up and you can read it at our website at Cardinal Couple as we discuss women's tennis. But unfortunately, I lost for the Cards yesterday down in Murfreesboro, a fine, fun town to visit. Not if you ever decide to get to Tennessee. And thought that for them. I can just remember going there for women's basketball a couple years ago, and whew, they are a rough crowd. You don't want to be an opposing team or an opposing team fan in that arena down there, folks. But
I think
as for the
Murfreesboro, that's one of those places on the way to Nashville. So I'd usually just see the sign and wave as we drive by. Like, will not be stopping here.
that's true, and then once you get into the town, it's a little hick town, really. Anyway, but I had the misfortune of going down there one time years ago for a women's basketball, and the vehicle that I was driving decided all of a sudden that the rear axle did not want to work very good anymore.
Mm.
And I came out the next morning and found a big puddle of liquid underneath my car that I'd driven down there. And was at the motel I was staying at to go to the game the next day. It was kind of like, oh crap, this is no good.
That's not great.
But fortunately, I was able to call a dealership friend of mine with Ford, who told me who the local Ford dealer was in Murfreesboro, and they brought me out a rental and picked up my car in the parking lot. So very nice of them to do so,
Yeah.
and thoughts out to them. They examined my car and told me within 24 hours, how about that for a dealership turning stuff around, that I needed a new rear axle. Mine was shot. And so I said, well, boys, I'll tell you what, let's do. Let's just go ahead and let's take it back to Louisville, and I'm just going to junk it out. And if you can find a tow truck that'll take me back up there and take it and take me, I'll be a happy camper. Once again, they came through big time. Arranged that, towed it back up to a salvage yard I know of, and I told the guys, give me what it's worth, fellas, if anything. And went through the process of getting a new vehicle, a vehicle we still proudly drive today. So, enough on Murfreesboro. I had a wonderful night there until I found out that my car wouldn't work. So, and I don't recommend anybody ever getting stuck in Murfreesboro with a dead car. But what we'd like to do, let's catch up with the crew and see what they've been up to this week. We'll start it out with you, Jeff. How's your week been?
Oh, not bad. I'm playing around with various technologies and fun stuff and learning and still looking for a job. So,
There you go. Well, those are priorities, certainly.
yeah.
And I would imagine that the job hunt, you're being rather selective and kind of taking your time to find a right fit for yourself.
A little bit of that, a little bit just the job market right now is just truly, truly awful. So, little column A, little column B there.
And sometimes that's how it works out in life. But if you are a potential employee out there and can offer Jeff what he wants, get in touch with him. He's a
Yeah.
nice guy, and we'll
Yeah.
give him good references too.
I know a lot about networking.
He knows a lot about stuff. How about that? Okay.
So
Always
you
good to
mean
have.
the Cardinal couple salary's not high enough?
Yeah.
You know, Jared, we had to fund all that money to the Let's Find More Women's Tennis Players Fund,
Yeah.
and had to divert all the cash we had to that. You know, we were actively combing the campus, handing people rackets that are female and saying, "Can you swing this? That's cool. If we threw you a ball, you think you could hit it? Excellent." Uh, we'll get into the tennis dilemma maybe some other time, but in any event, so we got that going on with Jess. Jared, you're with us again today, back after doing all kinds of crazy stuff throughout the week like you normally do. What's been on your agenda and what's coming up?
Mostly just work and even try and get some overtime before going on a cruise here in a couple weeks. Because right about 2 weeks exactly from now, I'm going to be hopping on a ship and heading out of the country for a week. So looking forward to somewhere that is forecasted to have much warmer weather. I mean, back when we were sitting in single digits, I looked down there in the Caribbean and the temperature is about 8 times higher.
Yeah.
So much more encouraging. Tired of
When
the
do
snow
you
and ice.
when do you leave?
2 weeks. Well, we go down a couple days early on a Thursday. Going to hit a couple of the Disney parks that Thursday and Friday, and then was that February 6th ish?
All right.
Yeah, and then we'll be gone, and this Sunday a week later we fly back home. So I'm sure by then I'll be ready to be home though. I'm not one who likes to be home from away from home for a long time.
Yeah, I was thinking about heading up to Indianapolis for an Ignite match on the 2nd. So I'm just gonna see if you wanted to go.
Ooh, I might have to. What day of the week is that? Sunday.
Sunday, yeah. It's the day of the Notre Dame women's basketball game.
Oh, I think I'm going
But
to be
it's
here.
yeah, it's later in the day, so yeah.
Possibly. We'll
Yeah.
we'll sidebar that and
Yeah,
figure that
for
out.
sure.
So you can tell Jared, an active man, and certainly always fun to be able to go on a vacation like that and take a little cruise and combine it with your love for Disney amusement parks like Jared has. And what are the parks that you're going to go visit, Jared?
That Thursday after we fly in, which our flight departs, I want to say 6:30 in the morning or something. We're gonna hit Epcot. Well, I'm going to Epcot by myself. Everybody else is being lame, and then that Friday, a buddy of mine is going to meet me down there, and we're going to hit up the Magic Kingdom and actually go eat up in Cinderella's iconic castle down there.
Dining in Cinderella's castle. Oh, that sounds like a fairy tale. But then, what would I don't know. I've never been down there to any of that, so I can't really speak on it to say. But it sounds like a wonderful time. My trips to Florida were basically just to see relatives and stuff like that. But certainly could be a good time for you. And hope that you come back safe and sound and had a good time for sure.
Yeah, when I'm back in the States and have phone signal again, I'll certainly be posting a lot of pictures.
And so check out Facebook and Twitter for those. And we'll even try to run some here on the website of Jared's wonderful adventure to the Magic Kingdom and beyond.
Yeah, I guess I'm going to become the new worldwide.
That's right. Worldwide Jeff title may be in jeopardy
Yep.
as worldwide Jared steps up and makes a claim for it.
I mean, I did go to Amsterdam back in May, and I'm planning a trip to Prague this May. So
Oh, he comes back strong with
Might
the
be getting
counter.
beat out.
Yeah.
He comes back strong with the counter. Okay.
Yeah.
Worldwide Jeff versus Worldwide Jared. We'll run an article at Cardinal Couple vote on your which one you want. There can only be one worldwide. Daryl in the house as well. Did I hear Lulu in the background, Daryl, already?
Oh my gosh, can you really hear that?
I thought I heard a
just a brief
slight
moment.
little meow. Yeah.
She's on the other side of the door because I'm in the little closet office. She hears you all talking. She has thoughts. She's trying to contribute. It's just constant, just in and out, But I'll tell you, we were talking this morning, and I think getting out of the country sounds fantastic right now. I'm very jealous of you guys. So this week for me, yeah, just extremely draining. Was really looking forward to Friday yesterday. And then here today, as we start the show, I'm having internet issues like we had at the end of last week's show. So I thought that was pretty poetic. Um, I'm just I'm just floating along, guys.
Yeah,
Here for the
you
ride.
did that ninja poof disappearing thing last week, so let's hope that doesn't
I
happen.
know it
Yeah.
was the internet. I forget what it did to my screen. It did something crazy. But then a few minutes later, I realized the whole internet went down for 10 minutes, and I was like,
Yeah.
ugh,
That
always
sucks.
something. So that's an advertisement for Verizon, if anyone was wondering.
That yeah, Verizon being my phone service, but not my internet service. And I don't know. I see all these ads on TV about cheaper phone services with all the same features as others have, and I just wonder if I ever want to make the switch. But
It's still better than Spectrum.
Spectrum can be very touchy at times, folks. Yes, indeed.
Very
Being
frustrating.
a Spectrum tele or a cable customer like I am, uh, I do like the wide variety of channels available to me, but sometimes you just don't get the best signal and stuff out of Spectrum and
Or
channels
customer service.
or customer service. And I happen to know two customer service reps for Spectrum that one's been a lifelong friend and the other I worked with at a previous job. And I always call in and try to ask for either one, and they're never available to take care of my
Sounds
problem.
about right. Our
So,
thing was last summer during the summer storms, like our internet went out, say on a Thursday, and they told us they couldn't come out until Tuesday. And Thomas told them, well, I can get a new provider by then. So we did.
Yeah.
And
and
so, yeah, here we are.
it's certainly an option for people as well. I know that the last time we had a Spectrum rep out here was to work on our line leading into the house as well. And they got it fixed and they said goodbye to us and they left. And I happened to just glance outside my front window about an hour later, and they had left their ladder leaning against the pole where they had gone up to do the work. Uh, wasn't quite sure how to interpret that. Whether they wanted me to go up and take a look on my own. We don't want Polly on a ladder at this age in life. Uh, or if they were going to come back and double check it, or they had just had, a case of the, gee, I forgot that, and realized it 30 minutes later when they were at another location. But thought about calling Spectrum and telling them that the rep had left the ladder by the pole and then said, nah, that could get somebody in trouble. I'm just going to see how long it takes them to realize it. And magically, 6 hours later, I happened to glance out that same window and the ladder was gone.
Mm.
Whether Spectrum or someone else got it, I'll never know. I didn't see. Then to kind of cover what me and myself and I have been up to this week and what I've been doing, it's basically been, the kind of week where uh, there hasn't been anything outstanding happen. We didn't have any Louisville basketball to really go to because the Cards are in the midst of a 3-game road streak right now. And so that was not available. Just taking care of the basic day-to-day things that I have to do. And, I did unfortunately lose a lifelong friend a couple of days ago who had a stroke that he just basically never came back from. And so I had to go to the viewing of that on Thursday. It was a very sad affair. Uh, did run into some friends of mine that I hadn't seen in quite a while who were all friends of his as well. And it was nice to kind of reminisce and talk with them a little bit. But certainly the sadness, and I don't do well in funeral homes, and I never have, and I
I mean,
probably never will.
does anybody?
Yeah, I don't know anybody who's
Yeah.
overjoyed to be in one, although I ran into some people that were very happy to see me, but
Yeah. Yeah. There could be
still,
elements of it, but
yeah, certainly. And then and had to talk to his wife as well, who was still alive and was there, but she's quite elderly and was in a wheelchair and not doing so well. So kind of a traumatic experience that I had to go through that I have reflected on for quite a long time. Was actually a month older than him, and for him to have a stroke and die kind of affected me quite a bit. I was kind of like, wow, I guess I'm on borrowed time. We don't know, but anyway, not to dwell on it too long. That was the major event that kind of happened in my week, and certainly was looking forward to a nice leisurely broadcast today when Case called in sick, and all of a sudden, boom, I was trying to come up with an article, and in my sleep-addled mind, that was quite a challenge. But we got there. We got it done. So, up on the Cardinal Couple website, we talked a little bit about the Louisville women's tennis going to Murfreesboro, and well, they didn't do so good down there. Uh, the Cards were kind of uh, short-handed to begin with, and then unable to perform with the talent that they did have available. So we won't dwell on them too much, though. Let's go ahead and I guess talk a little bit about hoops because we all love basketball, and we have not had a chance to review how the Cardinals did when they went down to take Virginia Tech. Unfortunately, a game where the Cards were unable to pull off the win, despite I'm going to call it a good fourth quarter rally where they came back and almost took it, but unfortunately fell to the Hokies, 70-65, as they went to Blacksburg and took the defeat. Jared, I thought that they could beat this team, but Louisville was kind of like having a hard time putting the ball in the basket in the first couple quarters.
Well, it's always tough when you're playing at the Castle, anyways. I think their fan base and student section do an absolutely excellent job of creating a hostile environment for opposing teams, and it does appear that that may have factored in a little bit. But I think you hit the nail on the head. Is you get the ball to go in the basket. We're not playing horseshoes, so just hitting the rim or getting close doesn't count for anything. You've got to get the ball in. And to me, a lot of those were just about point blank range, either layups or just a couple feet off the basket. That you really should be able to get in. That's kind of been a concern, not just this year, but the last few seasons. Is a lot of your point blank range shots and your layups just don't go in for this team in this program. So I don't know what's going on. Hopefully, maybe a little bit more basket awareness and where you are on the court could factor in and help that, but I don't know. I think that needs to be addressed.
A 70-65 loss for Louisville, but at the end of the third quarter, this game was 58-45 in favor of Virginia Tech. And I can remember kind of sitting on my easy chair watching this game, scratching my head, going, "Who is this team that we put out there, and why are they trailing Virginia Tech by 13 points? Kenny Brooks is gone. George Amore is gone. They're still kicking our butts." But Daryl, thoughts on this one? A surprising loss to me.
Agreed. Majorly surprising. I did get some eyeballs on this one, and I'm telling you guys, it might have been my fault. Every time I turned it on, we stopped scoring. So eventually, I got that small window to where they were getting closer, and I tuned back in because I saw it, and they stopped scoring again. So I turned it off. So just not a lot of time, to make that comeback. Surprising is, Cards grossly out rebound them and still find a way to lose. But just, this isn't one of those really dominant Louisville teams that we've seen in history. So, when they got on that hot streak, I feel like, a bigger target on their back. And like Jared said, going into their house, they had an excellent crowd presence and awareness, and they were imposing and very distracting for this team. And the Cards just couldn't make that comeback. And it's just going to be one that hopefully they take their licks and reflect on that. Now that we got this week break, they had a midweek break before their next match. So now we're heading into February. It's time to turn it up the next notch and realize what happened and get better from it. Because how do you lose a game when you out rebound them 39-25? That's a crazy stat to
That's
me.
called the Angel Reese effect, where you miss a layup and get your own rebound, and miss a layup and get your
Oh,
own
okay.
rebound.
So that's 4 rebounds. Gotcha. I see.
Or as Jeff Walls pointed out in his post game interview too. Well, it's easy to get out rebounded when they're making all their shots. You know,
Yeah.
if there's
Mhm.
nothing there to rebound when they miss a shot, uh, we just have to throw the ball in bounds and bring it up the court. There's no rebound to notch up. And he said we weren't shooting quite as well as them, but he said he pointed the loss basically to free throw shooting, where the Cards went 64% from the free throw line. Not quite what we like to see, a 70 or better percent. And Marissa Russell and Taja Roberts were combined 4 for 8 from the free throw line. So
That's
certainly
unlike them.
very unlike them, certainly. So maybe just the fact that it's a young team that was on the road in a raucous atmosphere, which was also Liz Kitley Day.
Yeah.
Liz Kitley being maybe one of the best ball players to ever step on the court at Virginia Tech for the women's basketball team.
Sure, but retiring a jersey like 2 years after, like I thought that was a little soon. Like maybe down the road, let her, get some gray hairs in her. I don't know. We had to put her on our broadcast where she's like obviously cheering for her team. Like it's not even like commentary.
Yeah,
She's
yeah.
just cheering,
Isn't
being like, "Oh yes, oh," like for 10 minutes. I get it for a few, but it was like getting old.
isn't she still like in graduate school itself at Virginia Tech?
Probably.
I thought she was maybe still taking classes, but I thought, is she not in the WNBA?
Surprisingly, I don't think she is.
I think I looked that up, and I think she has some sort of injury that has kind of kept her from playing, but is expected to.
I got you. Okay. Well, maybe it was just she went to.
It
Maybe.
says
Go
the
ahead.
Aces. She was drafted 24th in the Aces last year. Let's see current status. She earned a degree in May of 2023. So, and then she's currently enrolled in curriculum. Blah blah blah. I don't know. I don't see injury.
Certainly, the Virginia Tech fans were glad to have her come back, and I agree with you, Daryl, on the fact that it was too early to bring her back for a day. I mean, she needs to at
A
least have
whole day,
a
and yeah,
couple. She needs to be married and have a couple of kids by her side.
a bobblehead. Didn't they have a bobblehead? Are they nuts?
Yeah, they did.
And it says that she tore her ACL in March of 2024, so she's probably poised to come back soon.
Yeah, that was during the what was it, the ACC tournament or NCAA tournament?
Yeah, I think it was NCAA tournament.
Oh yes, yep. Okay, it's all coming back to me. That was a huge reason that they probably didn't advance as far as.
Right, because she was not there, and they triple teamed George Amore the whole tournament, and that was it.
Those two were a very viable combination for Virginia Tech back when they were playing together, and certainly with Kenny Brooks head coaching them at the same time as well. Virginia Tech was quite a team to have to go up against and deal with back in what I'll call their glory days, if nothing else. Of course, Brooks gone now. He resides up in Lexington, Kentucky, where he's working on a garbage truck up. No, he's the head coach of the University of Kentucky women's basketball team. Yeah, he does that now. And I love the guy to death. I've had some great conversations with him, but I hate seeing him dressed in blue. It just
it's disgusting.
turns my stomach, kids. But anyway, obviously there was most likely more money involved for him. And while he was at it, he decided, hey, why don't I take some of my best players with me too? I got a 6'7" center. I got Liz Kitley. Not Liz Kitley, but I've got George Amore. Okay, yeah, come on up to Kentucky. I understand they've got a really, really good ale up here. Kenny Brooks. I like the man a lot. I just don't like his current choice of clothing.
It's
How's
like we
that?
said last week. Like I said last week, they're annoying,
Yeah,
and
and
it's a compliment.
the whole scene. And Jared and I were up there for the game that we played them in, and they have this maze of they take you through to get finally to their media room. Uh, and I'm glad we didn't have to figure it out on our own, Jared, because I would have gotten lost.
Oh, with the newly refurbished Memorial
Yeah,
Coliseum. I like what they've done with the place from especially if I'm going as a fan. I think it looks very nice. I like that student section, but yeah, I mean the media entrance is on one side, the elevator's on the complete opposite side of the arena. Then you got to go back across the other arena to get to the media room.
and then they stick you up in the corner of the arena if you're media. If you're not, if you're regular media and not exalted media, you get stuck up in the overflow media section. That's where I ended up in the fifth row. Uh, Sony and I sandwiched in between two websites we had never heard of. So interesting for us. And yeah, it's just they changed the parking up. It used to be in the old days you could go to Memorial, you could pull into the, in my case, handicap lot and get a spot where you had to walk maybe, and you and I had done it before, Jared, maybe walk 30 or 40 feet until we were going in Memorial.
Yeah,
No longer.
that lot that's adjacent to Memorial, and I think there may be a couple fraternity and sorority houses in the area. Yeah, but the now what was it, about 2 blocks down the road from media to Park and Walk, which is a bit far.
For sure, yeah, and thankfully, and thanking him for this, Jared decided he was just going to drop me off at the front instead of me having to walk all the way back up there, which I appreciated. Which
Except then
I
they wouldn't let you go in the one entrance.
then they wouldn't let me go in the main entrance. They said, "No, you're a media. You have to go around to the media entrance." Oh, okay. So I stood out there in the cold weather and waited for Jared and Sonia, and we ended up walking around the building to go into the media entrance, which is, like I said, a mere 40 feet from where we used to park. So, uh, not very encouraged about that. Now, what even made me madder is when we went in and I looked and saw that there were 5 handicap spots open, and that we had our handicap sticker from my car where we could have parked there. Oh well. Enough on UK. Boo on them. Anyway,
Agreed. Here, here. Cheers.
getting back to the Hokies game, defensively, I can't say we did a great job against the Hokies, allowing them to shoot over 50% from the floor. And their bench actually came in and outscored our bench. And we don't see that very often, gang. And normally we go fairly deep into our bench and usually get quite a bit of participation from our reserve players who end up scoring and doing good things. But they had a freshman come in and torch us for 12 points as a reserve, and Cale Peterson. So I can't say that it was a great defensive effort for us against the Hokies.
No, probably going to be one of those games that they just kind of shake their head at themselves. They let that one go. Got ugly kind of quickly, and then didn't have enough time to come back on them.
And one that may kind of, I hope it doesn't come back to haunt us when it comes to decision making about NCAA tournament and things like that. You know, I heard some complaints about the officiating. I can't really say that that was the reason we lost that game up there
I'm not.
against Virginia Tech.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that either. Again, I tried to watch it fully, but it gets a little frustrating after sit there for 5 or 10 minutes and no points are being scored. So you got to change your shirt or whatever the trick is. So I'm not gonna say officiating was it. I didn't see the ball go through the hoop enough. That's my consensus.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I've been well on the record over the years as saying that women's basketball officiating is just bad. It's not biased. It's just bad. And, I continue to see that this year. I don't know that I saw anything particularly egregious in that game. I didn't see the whole game, but it was there. I'm sure there are things that I could point at and go, "Wow, that was a really bad call," because I can do that in every women's basketball game at any level. It's not just college, so yeah. But I doubt it. I didn't notice anything that was particularly biased about it. So
And one of the things that I have noticed, and maybe you all can back me up on this, is I'm noticing a lot more new faces in the ACC women's basketball officiating crew than I used to see. A lot of the ones that I grew familiar with and got to at least recognize and know and be able to kind of wave and say hi to over the years are slowly, one by one, disappearing. Uh, of course, there are a few that are still around. Certainly, Billy Smith's one that I've known for years. I've talked with him down at ACC tournaments. He's still there. Decanter, obviously, TVD. She's not going to go anywhere that's going to lessen her chances of being on television. And she likes the ACC. She knows the coaches well there, and can pretty much run her own skateboard there. But other than that, one by one, Jared, these officiating crew that we used to know and consider, like the Interline brothers, for example, whatever happened to them? Uh, referees that we got to know, Jared, they're gone. Where did they go?
Yeah, it's I don't know if we've just got folks that are starting to retire or getting run
Or
out of
maybe something we
Dodge.
don't want to talk about.
Yeah, possible there too, dear.
Yeah, I mean,
I was
you
I
can't
was
really get
Googling it,
fired,
guys. I
right?
was looking at the pay rate for it. I was wondering if there was a giant difference between the men's and the women's games. Do you all
At
know the
one point,
answer?
there used to be. I'm gonna
I
say
know.
it's pretty sizable, right?
It's a good chunk, but do you know the difference between the men's and the women's games?
mhm.
I do not.
There
Jeff?
used to also
No,
be,
I
yeah,
don't.
I have no clue either. And there also used to be a great crossover between the WNBA and women's basketball on the collegiate D1 level. A lot of the referees who were doing WNBA were also dropping down and doing D1 women's college basketball.
Sure, they're different schedules. They're different seasons. That makes sense.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, but I'm curious what the distinction and what the difference in pay rates is, because I suspect it's substantial.
Yeah, so I just Googled the D1 men's and women's, and then it actually came up the same thing. Again, this is an AI answering real quickly. I haven't dug into it, but it does say that the average earning is between 1,000 and 3,000 per game, and I'm sure that's dependent on their seniority. So Decanter's probably making that latter, upper towards 3,000, but I'm surprised that it says both men's and women's is 1,000 to 3,000. That's some equality, I guess. Because I really did think that is probably the reason you were seeing the same people is because it's hard to pull people from the men's games because they probably make more. So that was my thought and why I went down that road.
An interesting concept there indeed as you certainly want to give the best referees out there the chance to call the best games. I agree with that, okay? But
But
how much? Yeah, go ahead,
their
Jeff.
assessment of who are the best refs tends to vary significantly from mine. I'll say that.
That's true.
Oh yes.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Uh, yeah, we just kind of hope that we can get good referees in here that aren't going to be an embarrassment. Uh, let's just hope that can happen for the Cards. But they go back out on the road again tomorrow, and we'll head to Virginia, Charlottesville, Virginia. A very nice kind of idyllic college town, a lot of fun. I've been to football games there in the past. Beautiful stadium, great fans, a fun place to visit. I've never actually attended a game inside their basketball arena at Virginia, but maybe we'll down the road. Never know. As we try to get around to a lot of the schools, as Sonia and I are both kind of trying to travel a bit now when we can and see some of these things. Uh, University of Virginia not having the best of basketball seasons as far as things go for them in the ACC. Currently 3-5 uh, overall. They do hold an 11-9 record, so obviously did better. I think you could say in the non-conference slate than they did in the conference slate as to date so far. Uh, they are a team that does tend to play pretty well at home, though. We've run into that before. They are 8-4 when they go into play in their Coliseum there. Uh, on the road, not so good, 2-3, and they are currently on a two-game losing streak. Maybe that's in our favor. We'll have to wait and see there. But just thoughts on this opponent coming up, gang?
Ready to
Uh, just
ready
need to
for
bounce back and get a win.
yeah, that's it. It doesn't matter who it is, it's just gotta be a win. You can't lose 2 in a row in January as you're coming up on conference play. Especially if it's gonna be to the same state. 2 teams in the same state.
Yeah.
You can't go over 2 in that against the Virginias.
I will say, as we had, the after December period of the, before Christmas and after December, talking about BC and AD parts of the schedule, we came back after December and we started winning a bunch of games. And, Wall said in some of his post game comments, I don't know if it was in the media comments, but he did on the radio comments once. He said, "We're not going to win the rest of these games, all the rest of these games. Sorry, we're going to lose some, right? It's the ACC. We're going to lose some games." So, like, the sky isn't falling here, but, it was not a great game. We didn't shoot well, like we talked about. But you got to step back and you win some. And you particularly need to win the ones in your home court. And if you lose some on the road, that's okay, right? Um, the biggest problem is our next home game is against Notre Dame. So, yeah, but
Oof.
yeah,
Mm.
if we can pick up this win and get back to winning, that would be great. Obviously, it's going to be great for the morale of the team and the fans and this, and then SMU are both on the road. So if we can if we could win those two, then it's a good swing. It's a good home or a good road trip.
Joanne Boyle, being the longtime coach there, is no longer coaching the squad, and they have a coach there, Aguara Hamilton, that I'm really not that familiar with. I don't know anything about her. Uh, I don't even know how long she's been in the position. My bad on that one for you all. But well, we do know that they've got some talent on the squad. I mean, Kamora Johnson, certainly a girl that could go to almost any other ACC school and earn a starting role right away. A fantastic ball player. Uh, and can attack and score. Letitia Lattimore, another one, a girl who has put up 10 double doubles in her last 20 games. So certainly a threat that's going to come after us. Last time out, they took a loss to Georgia Tech, and we know that Georgia Tech is a strong team. We've witnessed that, but went 6 straight from the free throw line last time out, and certainly another very good ball player for them. Uh, they'll of course have the home arena in their favor. Uh, I hope that Louisville can come out and with the week off has rested up and got healed in areas they need to, and certainly has worked hard on developing a plan of attack for this game like this. But anytime you're in a road in a place like Virginia, and they're going to show up and they're going to cheer for this team, uh, even though they have been in a position to win 3 games so far in January against Duke, NC State, and Georgia Tech, and ended up coming up empty in the fourth quarter.
Ugh.
So
Hopefully this isn't the one that
yeah,
they come out on the other side in the other column. But again, I think I was looking at the stats from Virginia Tech again. It's just I feel like Coach Walls made it a point to emphasize the 3-point shooting of this team and their capability. And then they go 2 of 18 against Virginia Tech. Jada Curry shot 9 from beyond 3 and only made 2. I mean, if 2 of more of those were made, and then everyone else went 0 for 3, 0 for 2, 0 for 3. Amari Berry, Roberts, and Marissa Russell. It's like 65 points scored. Yeah, that's not going to win games. I'm just waiting for this 3-point game that Coach Walls keeps talking about to finally show itself, because maybe it'll be against the Notre Dame game. I don't know, but it's got to come out. 18 shots from beyond 3, you only made 2? Ugh.
Yeah, the number doesn't really exude excitement, does it? We have some very good 3-point shooters on this team, Jared. We've certainly seen in various times this year, players like Curry and other players have stepped up and just knocked the bottom out of the 3-point range. Uh, is it a case of young player blues, or what do you think it is?
I'm thinking maybe they just need to spend more time in the gym and with shoot around, get extra shots up right now. A lot of times, if somebody's in a slump, just getting back in the gym, getting the extra shots, the extra practice can fix that. So hopefully, we're seeing, especially with the kind of having a little bit of a bye there on, I guess Thursday, extra time just to go and shoot and less film game plan for a couple days.
It's certainly something that we can hope will kind of take part. Virginia has some very good writers for their website, and a guy that I kind of like to jump over and read every once in a while is a fella whose name is Luke Lamberson. He evaluates this program as good as any other opposing school I've ever seen. Kind of evaluate what his team that he covers does, and he calls their coach Coach Mox, MOX. I like that. It's a lot easier than her real name. I'm going to adopt it. How about that? Thank you, Luke, for that. Uh, he's kind of evaluating them as being a team that can't lose any more tier one losses or quad one losses, as some people like to call it. You take a look at what's left on the schedule. Boy, that's going to be a bear that's going to be hard to run out of the woods, isn't it?
Yeah, it's we lost several early on, and then you had that that Christmas break, where we came back strong and are certainly playing better. But yeah, I mean those early games are still on the record. They still come into play when it comes NCAA tournament selection time and such. So um, it's you got to take those into consideration. The NCAA does have some recency bias, and acknowledged, admitted, and intentional in their selection process. Um, but that just puts more weight on the fact that we need to win these later games, or at least a significant number of them. Um, dropping one more maybe okay. I don't know, but obviously we never know for sure. But yeah, we got to step up and start winning some of these big games.
And something that Virginia does in their writings and articles is they break down their team's records via quads, which I found fascinating to kind of look at and review a little bit. As many of you may know, they basically put women's basketball D1 level into 4 different quads. Quad 1 being the best, and Quad 4 being the not so good. In Quad 1 for Virginia this year, they are 0-3. They have played so far Notre Dame, who they lost to, Duke, another very fine squad, number 8 in the nation by some aspects, a loss to them, and also a loss to Oklahoma and North Carolina State, 2 schools we know very well for different reasons. Oklahoma being the home of Pete Dorholst, North Carolina State being the home of Wes Moore. So 0 for 4 them in Quad 1, 0 for 4. Quad 2, though, they're 2-0. And so, what schools are considered in Quad 2? Believe it or not, Louisville is considered a Quad 2 team. I found that kind of surprising, but still, that's where we are. But their wins have been 2-0 in Quad 2 over Virginia Tech and over Clemson. So they've got that going for them. When you drop down to Quad 3, they're 1-3 losses against Auburn, Boston College, and Wyoming, and a win over Green Bay. And then finally, Quad 4, uh, where the majority of their games have fallen into that category this year. They are pretty sparkling 8-1, which you would expect you would have a good record against Quad 4 teams, right? Uh, but some of the teams that they're listing as Quad 4 kind of surprised me here. Wake Forest, for example. I would have figured they might have been in a different quad, but no. A win over Wake Forest, a loss to Washington State, their only loss in Quad 4, and then wins over teams that I probably would have said, yeah, I can see them being Quad 4. They've had wins over Coppin State, UMES, whoever that is, I have no clue. Uh, Somebody can research that for me. LaSalle, Bethune Cookman, Radford, American, and Alabama State. So, uh, yeah, that one's going to be a curiosity for me. What is a UMES?
A Humes. I have no idea.
So certainly, that's how they stand as far as they call it a net resume goes as far as quad participation goes. Certainly, their 0-4 record in quad 1 is rather unfortunate for them. And since we're considered a quad 2 team, according to them in their net evaluations,
Now,
I don't
one
know if
thing that's interesting is your quad 1, 2, 3, 4 wins. It changes. So if you're playing at home, uh, it's less likely to have a quad 1 opponent if you're the host team versus if you go on the road. The restrictions and requirements are quite a bit looser, so you could go on the road and win and have a better chance of it being a quad 1 because they do factor in a home court advantage on that.
and that was another confusing point of it for me too, Jared, where basically a quad 1 opponent is it if you're playing a quad 1 opponent at home, they have to be either ranked from number 1 to number 25 in the nation. But if you go to a neutral court to play what's considered a quad 1 opponent, there can be anywhere from number 1 in the nation to number 35 in the nation. Going on the road and facing a quad 1 opponent, they could be ranked anywhere from number 1 to number 45 in the nation. So, yeah, it's just it's very confusing to me, and we need a scientist probably or a mathematician to figure out the rest of this for me. But
Oh, I'm out.
yeah, yeah, and Case could probably jump in and give me a full explanation, and he's out today. But so anyway, yeah, the quads. Okay, fine. You got to win your quad games, and I think for Louisville looking ahead, and I wouldn't even want to try to place the rest of the card squad uh, games into oh, quad evaluations. I don't think that I'm qualified to do that, but certainly when you take a look at what's coming up for the cards, 2 left to go on the road, and then as we mentioned earlier, facing Notre Dame. Uh, SMU, I don't know a lot about, but certainly,
Well, they had the one for the record books against Pittsburgh a couple weeks ago. I'm not sure if you remember that one, where Pittsburgh outscored them 28-0 in the third quarter and went on. I want to say it was like a 40-something to 12 run to win the game.
Was that? Well, it was. I think I saw 52-10.
There we
Just
go.
at
That's
one
what it
point.
was.
Yeah.
that's just amazing how
Yeah.
a team could fall that badly against somebody. But certainly we've seen it happen before. Uh, One thing about the cards rest of schedule coming up is that we do get the California additions to the ACC
Yeah.
in our arena this year, back to back, with Cal coming in on February the 6th and Stanford coming in on the 9th of February. Certainly, I think good to have both of them in our place to start out with. I don't know how well this team is going to perform on the road the rest of the year when you take a look at what's left. Certainly, we have to go to SMU. We have to go to Florida State, and that's never an easy trip. We also have to go to Duke. Could be a long night for the Cards down there. Also, a return trip to Notre Dame after they come here. So those road matches are waiting Louisville before they go into the ACC tournament on the 8th, and the ACC tournament, I think, being held one last year in Greensboro before they moved to their new permanent location in Charlotte,
Well,
North Carolina.
Louisville's got a lot of quad one win chances coming up. Notre Dame at home and on the road, both of those would be a quad one matchup. Florida State on the road would currently be quad one, I believe. Cal, who is ranked right now, so playing them at home, that would also be quad one. Stanford's not having a great year. I think playing Stanford at home is either a quad two or quad three opportunity. Duke would also be quad one, regardless if it's home or on the road. So there's a lot of chances to get these quad one wins coming up.
And I'm just looking at Stanford's resume right now. It is bizarre looking at their schedule and to see that they have it has 9 a.m. for the UofL Stanford match. I'm assuming that's a Sunday. Yeah, it
It's
says
a Sunday
Sunday.
noon game,
But
noon Eastern.
still,
Yeah, it'd be noon for us. Yeah.
9
they're showing-
a.m., 2
they're-
p.m. start at Boston College. Well, that's a Sunday. I guess they've considered all that stuff, but I just
Yeah,
this
and
is
they're showing you Pacific time on their schedule, not Eastern.
well, yeah.
So,
But I can't.
yeah, but-
I can't imagine. I guess I can't imagine they'll do a weekday game where it's like a 7 p.m. start and 4 p.m. out there. I don't know. It just seems
yeah.
so not responsible. Just the resources it takes to get these teams across the country and then to call it the Atlantic Coast Conference is just it's gaslighting.
How about the All Coast Conference? Who came up with that one?
Yeah, that's what we're calling it now.
But, so we'll see what happens to the Cards in Charlottesville. Certainly hoping them the best out there as they try to get a W on a road worth its weight in gold. But, I did want to kind of cover in the remaining minutes we have before our final thoughts here. Let's talk a little bit about softball. Softball, of course, is only a couple weeks away. Believe it or not, back at the Homer. Sort of, yeah. Well, they're not going to actually be at Homer for quite a while, as softball does, as Jeff so quickly pointed out there. We do spend a majority of the early season on the road in warmer climates.
In Florida, specifically.
In Florida, yes.
Yeah.
Of all great places to go. Certainly, yes, Florida. Love the idea. Let's go.
Yeah.
I wish that they would take me down as a reporter, but they will not. But
the first game we play outside of the state of Florida is February 26th, and that's here against Bellarmine. That's our home opener.
And that's still kind of a questionable time of year.
Yeah, the opening 3 weeks of play is all in the state of Florida.
What a road trip, huh?
Yeah.
They do come home, I think, eventually in between trips. They're not down there the whole entire time.
Yeah, they don't just stay down there. But, some of them, if they have a midweek game down there, they got a midweek game against USF. Do they, they're Sunday in Boca Raton, they're Wednesday in Tampa. What do you do for travel there? Do you come home?
Yeah, do you actually spend the money to come home, or do you find a nice place in town at a high school field and say,
and then,
can we practice here for a couple of days? And then
in USF Wednesday in Tampa, and then Friday you're playing Kent State in Tampa. So, I don't know.
I think you probably stay in Tampa for that one, maybe.
For that part of it. Maybe the first half of the week you come home for a day or two. But
find a nice place to go practice in town. And do that. Probably cost-effective more wise to do that. But Holly April coming in here with a team that we will enjoy watching this year. What she's got is some very, very great pitchers on this staff, as we kind of alluded to earlier. She's got enough pitchers to basically field a whole team, not just pitchers. Starting with Alyssa Zabala, uh, 18 and 16 last year in the circle for the Cards. 38 appearances in our 52 games that we played last year. Jared, I think you'll agree with me here that Holly is going to be leaning pretty heavily on her again this year.
Yeah, absolutely. She came in, and even back in her freshman year, I would argue that she kind of assumed an ace type role at that point, and was certainly the go to player in the ace last year, almost to the point that maybe they leaned on her too much, as maybe the rest of the pitching had some off times. I like her. She's not one of your um, kind of multi-talented players, so you don't get her at the plate at all. She doesn't go out and bat, but I think she's a phenomenal pitcher that we've gotten, probably one of the best in Louisville history, in my opinion. And she deserves more wins, but that falls on the offense to be able to go out and score too. She does have some solid players behind her. Brooke Gray's entering her sophomore year, so you really expect to see that jump into the second year in college for her. Sam Boo is back for her final year of eligibility. You hope that Sam will kind of step up and take kind of a leadership role too this season, and then plenty of other players that are on the roster this year too that could see some time in the circle.
Certainly, indeed, is Izzy Harrison, a transfer from Kentucky to pitch for Louisville this season. Uh, Lindsey Mullen, an auspicious freshman career. Last season, she got a win in her only start as they put her up against Georgetown College. Katie Thatcher, another one who's kind of listed as a pitcher and an outfielder. So probably won't be playing both at the same time, no. But if she does get into games, certainly we'll see what she has to do. She was 18 and 3 her senior season in high
Yeah,
school.
so UofL did not put her in the circle at all last year, to my understanding. She ended up playing a lot of right field. She came in, had some really big at bats, a few home runs. So I'm not sure we're going to see her pitching unless we're in a blowout situation one way or another, or we just see some unfortunate injuries to other pitchers. I'd expect to see her more playing outfield again this year.
So certainly could be possible for her. And then a freshman coming into the squad in Ryan Sanders, who comes in from Bentonville, Arkansas. What is Bentonville, Arkansas known for?
Walmart.
Why, it's where Walmart's located. That's right, Jeff. And she was a Max Prep softball All-American. Certainly
That's
a
nice.
lofty title to bring in with you when coming to college. We'll see how she fits into Holly's rotation. The actual season will begin on February the 7th. The Cards will go down to Leesburg, Florida. And I have no idea where that is. But that's where they're headed.
It's in Florida.
Northwest of Orlando. It's very near where the Villages is.
So that geographical point from Jeff, that's where the Cards are headed, to Leesburg to start their season. We're obviously going to cover this quite a bit for you as the season goes out. We love to cover softball. I know Jeff likes to get out to games a lot. Jared will be out there taking photos. I plan on visiting a lot more than I did last season for softball. We had hoped to maybe have some remarks from Holly April to discuss today, but we're still in the process of trying to line up interviews with her and also Scott Teeter. But we'll get to those. But as I take a look at the clock on the wall here, we're approaching the magical hour of 12, and I'm sure Lola is scratching at the door for for Daryl to come out and play with her. Let's get into some final thoughts, shall we? Daryl, start us out.
Yep, you got it. This cat is scratching at the door. She said she's ready to enjoy the sunlight today. Hopefully the sun comes out and melts all this disgusting snow that's been there for 3 weeks.
Preach it.
Um it's so gross looking, and I don't imagine those large mounds are going to go anywhere soon. But final thoughts, can't believe it, but it has been 5 years. Tomorrow will be the day that Kobe and his daughter and the rest of the AAU team that was traveling in that helicopter that went down. I was with Jared that day. I'll never forget it. And I can't believe it's gonna be a Sunday again too, which is the day that it happened. So it's just time flies. These last 5 years since COVID, it's just the biggest jump scare ever. But glad we're still doing this thing, guys. It's I really appreciate the opportunity to talk about the team we like a lot, and I hope everyone just has a slow, safe, and happy weekend.
Absolutely. The weather concerns have got us all kind of not doing as much outdoors as we would normally like to, but then again, I suppose we have to expect that in late January in Louisville. Certainly, the atmospheric conditions can be dicey, as they say. So, uh, Jared, final thoughts?
Yeah, looking at the lacrosse roster, lacrosse schedule. Little disappointed. We've got quite a few Friday noon games this year versus quite a few less Saturday games. I don't like when they schedule these during the week, especially during the middle of the day. Even for myself, I'm still working at that point. Even though I get off work early on most Fridays, best case scenario for me is I could get there for the second half. So I kind of wish they would alter that schedule and look at more weekend games if they want to do middle of the day, or switch to later hours of the day if you want to do the middle of the week. I don't know how much UofL has a say in that versus the ACC, but when you want to grow your fan base and get more fans out to games, it's not exactly a great way to do it with the scheduling.
100% in agreement there, sir. I too had that little question mark bubble over my head and was scratching my scalp trying to figure out why in creation would we want to play at noon and virtually have no fan base there except for students that were skipping classes. You know, the majority of us are hardworking folks who have to go out and make a living, or they're retired and don't want to go to a noon match for anything.
Yeah, and there's nowhere to park during the week either.
And
That's close to there.
Let's make it tougher.
that is the even tougher consideration. There is no parking for lacrosse. There is a nice lot across the street from where lacrosse is, but they tend to put cars in there and trucks in there from a dealership that they're waiting to sell or do something with. I have no clue, but uh, that would make a great parking lot for several things. But
And a volleyball arena.
and a nice volleyball arena too, Jared. A very good point.
I wasn't going to say it.
I'll say it.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, but
It's certainly wiser minds than ours will figure that out down the road, I'm sure. Jeff, final thoughts?
Yeah, I just wanted to comment on the softball schedule. One thing that I noticed in it that I think is pretty cool is we are playing 5 different teams from the state of Kentucky during the schedule. 6 games. We play Western Kentucky twice. We play our traditional game against Kentucky. We also play Eastern Kentucky and Northern Kentucky, and the home opener that was mentioned earlier against Bellarmine. So kind of cool to play that many local teams. Should be makes it for some fun crowds, and just a lot of fun.
Always a fun time at lacrosse, and I was that was kind of part of my final thoughts as well, as I was going to kind of touch a little bit on lacrosse as well. Scott Teeter coming in, is he at a crossroads? Maybe not yet, but getting certainly close to one. He was able to have the best season that he's ever had at Louisville last year, but then again, it was only 8-11 overall. Yes, they did knock off highly ranked Clemson, and they were also able to get a couple of other wins, even including one in the ACC tournament. But certainly, the Teeter era has been one that has been underwhelming. Maybe that's the best term to put it. And if you take a look at coming into this season, the Cards have lost their top three scorers: Coco Nakazawa, Nicole Peroni, and Kylie Dobson. So I guess the question mark is still out there for lacrosse. What kind of year will they have? What will they be able to accomplish? I'm certainly going to try to make some more matches out there. Uh, they certainly have a very, I think, taskful and adept SID now for that sport in Lower Cordy. And so hopefully with the change in SID will come the change in fortunes for the squad, and that they'll be able to put together a nice winning season, one that they haven't seen since the days of the ill-fated Kelly Young. We won't go there, but we do want to thank you for tuning in today to the Cardinal Couple Radio Hour podcast. Certainly hope that everybody has a great weekend. And as always, we'll end with the Go Cards.